Susquehanna Township Board of Commissioners is called to session. I would note that all members of the board are present and accounted for. I would also note that the board did meet in executive session to discuss matters permissible under law, including personnel, litigation, and real estate. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Commissioner Engel, followed by a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, and welcome again. First up, we have a guest, Mr. Dan Fuller from the Susquehanna Township Rotary Club. Mr. Fuller.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing us to have some time. My name is Dan Fuller. I'm the current president of the Rotary Club of Susquehanna Township. I'm here tonight with another Rotarian, Elliot Markovitz, who's past president of the Township Club. And we're here for a very special reason. We'd like to recognize a police officer from the township. Rotary Club of Susquehanna Township is kind of unique that it fits for Rotary clubs. We're share the same borders with the district and our township, and most of our focus over the last 10 years has been on the school district, but we've been wanting to get a little bit more involved with projects and activities in the community in general, and we've been talking to different commissioners, but Chief Martin talked to me probably a couple of years ago almost, and we kind of floated this idea and eventually came back around to it and thought this would be a great way to honor somebody who really provides a lot of outstanding service to our township. So we've kicked off our inaugural recognition and hope to do this on an annual basis. We honored the Corporal Rietheimer last month at our meeting, but wanted to do this as well during the commissioners' meeting tonight. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to you to talk about the selection.
Absolutely. Mr. President, member of the board, thank you for giving some time. We know it's a busy meeting tonight. The selection for Corporal Rietheimer came about because in January of 2014, he was involved in a high-speed pursuit with a homicide suspect, which ended with an armed engagement. And following that, over the past 12 to 18 months, there's been times when Corporal Rietheimer has acted as the platoon commander when his platoon commander was in some long-term training with Northwestern University. And Corporal Rietheimer has always exhibited great leadership. He's a 15-year veteran of our police department and graduate of Millersville University. And it's a pleasure for me to honor him with the Rotary Club tonight as the Officer of the Year. And it's an award, like Mr. Fuller stated, we want to go forward every year and have an officer honored by the Rotary Club. So thank you.
And I have one more thing. I have an individual award, but we also have a plaque present the chief, where we've got the next 25 years covered here.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief, get close.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Great.
Corporal.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? Congratulations.
Yeah. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you too, Mr. Fuller.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Petitions, complaints, suggestions from citizens. If anybody wishes to speak tonight. once. Okay, moving on to the approval of minutes from our October 8th, 2015 regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comment? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And minutes from October 22 workshop meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Reports of committees, buildings and grounds.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Budget and finance.
Mr. President, thank you. We have had several public meetings to review revenues and expenses. We've covered those line items in great detail. We've had township staff present, and Township Manager Myers has given great insight into this year's budget. It's a no tax increase budget, and we've had a lot of open discussion about what it all means. I commend the township staff. It's a lot of work. Mr. Myers always delivers in projections and detail, so my personal thanks there. And I think what we have here is a budget that's used all the available and accurate information that we could gather for the last several months. I think the public workshops that we had done this year worked well, and we could probably do them in the future without any grave concern. It was an excellent suggestion. So I make a motion to advertise the budget and tax ordinance and public hearing for the budget, to advertise the budget as presented for the year 2016.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Then, after the month of review, we'll have the next public meeting in December and take a final vote on the budget for 2016. And then it'll start all over again.
The proposed budget will be duly advertised and posted for public inspection for the required amount of time. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else, Commissioner?
I don't think so. Do we have anything else, Mr. Myers?
Sir.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. And good work. And I do think that the workshop process worked well. Good. They were lengthy. Gave us a chance to ask a lot of questions, drill down on some stuff. All righty. Highway, Commissioner Napper.
No report tonight, sir.
Thank you. Health and Sanitation, Commissioner Johnson.
No report.
Thank you. Administration Personnel. Commissioner
Yes. Yes, Mr. President. We have completed a tentative agreement terms pending the ratification between the Susquehanna Township Police Department bargaining unit and the management of Susquehanna Township, sir. And that's where we're about.
Napper. That should be considered at our December meeting.
Correct.
Thank you. All right, Police, Commissioner Engel.
No report.
Fire and EMS, Commissioner Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. President. All three township fire companies this year held annual open houses, as well as attended two neighboring departments' open house events with static displays for Fire Prevention Month. They participated in 8 fire prevention events at various schools and daycare facilities and conducted 3 daycare inspections and safety seminars. 3 community parades were attended, and Rescue Fire Company hosted 2 of those. And the companies attended their stations and high-traffic areas in their first districts to hand out candy, talk to community members, recruit other members and give tours of fire apparatus in their stations. And the total reach was approximately 1,600 children and 450 adults and teachers. And the hundreds of man-hours represent the future of our volunteer fire service. And these public fire safety education opportunities, we appreciate having them, and they are, in fact, priceless. So, and I want to thank Rescue especially for being out on Halloween. I know all the kids in the Deer Path area and surrounding areas get a kick out of seeing the fire truck, and my kids are no exception. 3 and 9 years old, they always enjoy seeing the fire apparatus out there on Halloween. So, and I hope everyone took the opportunity to turn your change the batteries in your smoke detectors when we turn the clocks back. If you did not, please do so. Smoke detectors save lives. Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Recreation, Commissioner Johnson.
No report.
Thank you. Planning and Zoning, Commissioner Schubert.
No report.
Okay. Bids and agreements, MS4. Mr. Myers, you want to take this?
I'm actually going to turn it over to Mr. Grubik. The Paxton Creek TMDL is something that started some years ago in coordination with our MS4 reporting. It takes into account some of the situations that we've had in the Paxton Creek over the years. I know Commissioner Johnson visited with me a couple of times over there on Gorse Road, and we're looking to, the citizens over there, and we're looking to attack those problems. And it was found that the best way to do this is to join with other municipalities to cut down costs. Instead of 3 different entities doing it with 3 separate startup costs, if we do it at one, we have 1 startup cost. And in that, the township would share, I think it's 44% of the total daily load comes from our stretch of the Paxton Creek. We do have the largest stretch of the Paxton Creek. And that's the commitment that I'm requesting the township to ask for. And again, I think Mr. Grubik has a better hold of this technically than I do. So, Mr. Grubik?
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Well stated, by the way, a good summary. What you have before you this evening, Commissioners, is an intermunicipal agreement among Susquehanna, Lower Paxton Townships, and the City of Harrisburg that would basically allow the 3 municipalities to work in cooperation with one another to not only satisfy the extension of the MS4 duties and responsibilities, but take care of what's called total maximum daily load, or TMDL. The Paxton Creek watershed has been identified by state and federal regulators as an impaired watershed, and therefore there's a lot of focus on making improvements to that watershed in various ways, such as erosion, sedimentation control issues, stream bank stabilization, and the removal of sediment and other debris that is in the creek. So, as Mr. Myers indicated, the intermunicipal agreement does break down the responsibility or the percentage based on the sediment load for the creek. Susquehanna Township is approximately 44%, and what it will do is allow us to go forward and actually bundle projects among the 3 municipalities to be able to do the projects much more cost effectively and cost efficiently for the good of the 3 municipalities and its residents. So I would recommend that the agreement be adopted this evening.
President, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the agreement.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comment?
I have-
President,
Mr. Pine?
I was just going to say, Bob, that those percentages are based on how much of the creek is located, watershed is located within our.
No, actually, Commissioner, it's based on the amount of the sediment load in each municipality's portion of the creek, not the area that's occupied by the watershed, but rather the sediment load. And that was calculated by stream modeling and actual measurement of the stream in various parts of the townships and the city.
So our total cost would be, I'm not,
It would be approximately $55,600.
Correct.
any other comment?
Yes, Mr. President, I had a question, a couple actually. First, I don't know if this is for Manager Myers or Mr. Grubik, what strategy specifically, is the goal of this intermunicipal agreement to eventually reduce our TMDL? Is that the work you're trying to do? Is that the goal?
The goal of the program is to be able to reduce the total maximum daily load.
Okay.
And the mechanism by which the TMDLs would be reduced are some of the things that I previously mentioned: stream bank stabilization, removal of sediment in areas in which the stream is choked, of which there are many, increased emphasis on erosion and sedimentation control, and best management practices for stormwater management. So the goal is to reduce the TMDL for the entire watershed but by piece, component by component.
And I don't want to get you in trouble here. Would you consider this an unfunded mandate, or do we receive funding from either
It's
DEP?
an absolute unfunded mandate.
Okay.
It's an unfunded mandate.
Yeah.
However, there are grants that are available, and we will be looking at whatever grants and outside sources of funding are available in order to offset any costs the township would incur.
And would those? I'm sorry,
And there's
Manager.
much more clout in going forward with 3 entities than there is one.
Okay. All right. That was my next question.
The funding,
So you would try to secure that funding as the intermunicipal agency,
As the group of the 3
Okay.
municipalities.
and there's a greater likelihood that we could secure some funding rather than going out.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the projects could be bundled and done at a much more cost-effective way than if each individual municipality wanted about it on their own.
If we did secure a grant, could we use it for strategy preparation costs?
Not retroactively,
Okay.
unfortunately.
So, all right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Public Works feasibility study. Mr. Myers.
I gave the board, each member of the board was emailed a copy of the feasibility study, and it's before you tonight to consider. And I think there's some comments to be made by either yourself or other board members, but this is a process that began actually years ago. We started considering this, and I think it was in the last spring, we hired a consultant to move forward with this. We've had several joint authority township executive sessions in regards to this matter.
Yeah, and the whole idea of the study, and it did start years ago, was to improve efficiencies and cut operational costs, which is important in this day and age, between the authority and the Susquehanna Township, because there are a lot of overlapping functions. But also the underlying premise always has been that no existing employees would be adversely affected in any way, either by pension or by employment in any regard. So with those two things as a premise, we did engage Susquehanna Accounting and Consulting Services to study it, see if it was worth doing, and how to go about venturing towards this goal line of increased efficiencies and lower operating costs. And the results from the feasibility study conducted by Mark Morgan and his associates was much more than I had ever thought of in terms of cost savings than we had ever really imagined. But it was, in my view, especially after all the years that I've been involved in it, a very thoughtful study, well done by an independent entity. He's studied similar operational consolidation and collaboration agreements throughout Pennsylvania. The one closest to us is in the borough of Middletown, was actually more extensive than the one contemplated for Susquehanna Township, because that, in addition to the sewer authority and the township highway staff, also included an electric department, a water department, and the recreation department, all coming under one umbrella for operational purposes. The authorities remained as they always were, and they performed the functions they always did. The difference was that the actual work being carried out by each entity was done by a common core of workers. And so that's what we studied here in Susquehanna Township. We commissioned the Susquehanna group to do that for us, and so we're pretty much at a crossroads. It's time to move on if we can, achieve these results, and try to enter an agreement between Susquehanna Township and Susquehanna Township Authority to realize mutual benefits to each. And the real winner would be the ratepayers and the taxpayers of Susquehanna Township, who in almost every case happen to be the same people. So, I don't know if you had any thoughts.
Yes.
Anybody else on the authority? Or anybody?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion at this time and state that for some time Susquehanna Township and Susquehanna Township Authority have explored possible ways to coordinate the service they provide. Aside from possible cost savings for both the authority and the township, the main objective of these discussions have been to maintain and enhance the quality of service to our customers while not impacting any employees in any adverse way. Last year, the township engaged in a consulting team with Susquehanna Accounting and Consulting Solutions to undertake a feasible study of consolidating the public works and administrative function. These studies identify significant cost reduction and operating efficiencies to be achieved by working together. Details of the finding were discussed at length and jointly with both the authority and the township board and management staff. The study found that a cooperative agreement would benefit both the township and the authority, and yet the functions of the authority itself will remain virtually unchanged. After careful review and consideration, I would move the following: that the Board of Commissioners accept the feasibility study by the Susquehanna Accounting and Consulting Services and authorize a negotiation and implementation of a management agreement between the township and the authority pending authority approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comment?
I have a comment, Mr. President. Despite some of the information provided, there was an opportunity. The second time the commissioners and the authority met, I could not make that meeting. I'm going to abstain because I happen to disagree that I think the feasibility study is incomplete, and so I have a meeting upcoming with the maker of that study to have some additional questions answered. It doesn't identify costs on the township side, which there certainly will be if we're moving personnel over onto the township side. So I want those gaps to be filled in. It's incomplete as far as I'm concerned. So again, like I said, I have a meeting with the maker of the feasibility study next week, and I hope to get some additional questions answered.
Mr. President, I voiced my opposition to to this merger, but what I'm going to say is, in that study, I did not see how the ratepayers were going to save money, nor did I see how taxpayers were going to save money, especially when we're talking about the possibility of raising our sewer rates. So I'm not sure. I didn't see that. That's my one issue. My other concern is the employees of the sewer authority. And there might be some here that say, well, we're going to do what's best for them. I don't know if that's what's best for them. Okay, I don't know that. And I know that there are some sewer employees out there, and I would really like to hear from you all. And what do you think? But in that study, I didn't see the motivating factor for us to do this. And like I said, I didn't see no huge increases or no huge savings at least for the township. I did not see that. As a matter of fact, according to that study, it seems like the work of the employees, the sewer employees, now the work will become cumbersome because now they will have to sit down and write their time when they're doing work for the sewer authority or when they're doing work for the township. They'd have to sit down and write that. And that doesn't sound to me like, efficient working. Then we're taking time from them doing whatever they do, whatever sewer employees do, I don't know. We're going to be taking time from them doing that job. Now they're going to have to sit down and do paperwork. So like I said, I don't see the efficiency, so I don't agree with that. And if there's any sewer employees out there, if you guys want to have a comment, because I know they came to the sewer board meeting the other night. If you'd like to stand up and have address the board, you can.
Yeah, and, I was at the meeting too.
Right.
And, Mr. Salamone, and I know a couple of the employees stood up and made remarks and, expressed concern. And your ultimate boss, Chairman Salamone, I think was very eloquent in stating, the whole purpose of the study and the premises that I mentioned earlier. And the premises being this whole thing is about to generate cost savings, for the township and the authority side. But the underlying premise, and create operating efficiencies, but the prime objective of the underlying premise is that nobody will be adversely affected by it. Commissioner, or Mr. Salamone, said he would not participate in that sort of a study or in that sort of an agreement. And I stand right behind him. And I've been that way for the past 8 years. If it's going to adversely affect somebody, I'm not for it. But from the feasibility study that Mr. Morgan put together, it's very clear that all this can be achieved. You can operate under one umbrella with a common set of management and achieve tremendous savings and tremendous efficiencies that you otherwise wouldn't do with separate silos. I'm very confident that this is going to generate real savings and is a real example of the way government should be operating in increasingly lean times. When sewer rates are poised to go up, when taxes are always on the verge of going up, you're able to keep the lid on things for only so long, but sooner or later you got to generate the kind of efficiencies that are necessary to make government work the way people expect it to work, while at the same time not making absolutely certain that nobody's going to be adversely affected. Chairman gave that promise to you the other night, and I give it here again tonight. That's not what we're in the business of doing.
No, Mr. President, I certainly support the idea and the concept of trying to cooperate with the various agencies to squeeze out efficiencies where we can. But I have to share Commissioner Fleming's thoughts that I'm not really sure we've really, completed the report yet on some of these things and documented to make sure everything is the way we'd like it to be. I know there are some issues regarding, pensions and pension contributions and all that sort of stuff, and it's still being fleshed out. And until it's totally fleshed out and we have it down in black and white, I don't see any harm in waiting till we have all the information to fully know what we're voting for instead of voting and then continuing to study, basically.
Mr. President.
Mr. Pine?
Well, I want to thank you and Mr. Solomon for your work on this whole extensive project. And I've read through a lot of material. I mean, I read the entire report and recommendations of the consultant. Also read some objections that were raised in various sectors, including one member of the board provided detailed concerns and expressed reservations and have you. But after reading everything, I honestly have to agree with your assessment that we're talking about taxpayer benefit, ratepayer benefit, and ultimately employee benefit insofar as retirement benefits. If my information is correct, the final average salary calculations for retirement are extend from a 5-year period to a 3-year period. And for those of us who are fortunate enough to be on a defined benefit pension, that's a big difference. That can mean real money. And I think to that extent, there's benefit all around on this. And I understand if my reading was correct, that projected savings, shared savings, granted, not necessarily one or the other party, but shared savings of over $270,000 a year. And that's a big hit for me. I mean, saving tax dollars, saving ratepayer dollars. And I mean, I think that's a home run.
Mr. President,
Commissioner.
I'd like to make some remarks, if I may. In theory, I'm supportive of this, the concept of sharing responsibilities and saving money. Of course, we all are. But it is a lot more complicated than that. As some of the commissioners alluded to, it involves pensions, it involves some uncertainties, and there were a lot of good questions raised at the last meeting we had last week with the consultant. And I can't say that those questions were answered to my satisfaction where I would feel comfortable supporting this. The savings aren't guaranteed because if the pensions don't work out the way that he predicted, the township will take a hit. I mean, it could work out to be beneficial for the employees, but we don't know that. Right now, without getting into the weeds, they're guaranteed 5% where they are. They're not guaranteed that if they're moved into the township pension. We can't guarantee that. They're at the state right now, and that's a set rate. They could do better with us. They could do worse. We don't know. And there's just a lot of uncertainty that could end up costing the taxpayers money rather than saving. So those are my concerns. And I did have the opportunity at the Sewer Authority meeting the other night to hear some of the employees speak. And again, the reason I can't support this is because of the uncertainty and the unanswered questions. But I have to say, I do feel bad for what they've been going through. They've been operating on rumor and conjecture, at least from what they said at the meeting the other night. And the chair of the Sewer Authority confirmed that they had yet to see any information. And he took a full responsibility for that. And I hope they do see the information that he had directed them to receive so that they understand, because it is their jobs and their pensions we're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I think it's worth noting that the current method of operation of the authority and the township as separate administrative entities is the exception rather than the rule. Most municipal authorities and townships work very closely together administratively. And that's what's being proposed here, to reduce those costs without adversely impacting anyone's employment or long-term benefit. So our consultant essentially said that was his conclusion. He's written dozens, maybe more than 100 of these studies, and just most recently we saw that effect in a neighboring municipality. And to move forward to support this would be a benefit for the involved parties, the township, the authority, the ratepayers, the taxpayers, and the employees. Generally speaking, the benefits are far and wide to be shared, and we can lower costs while improving operations, and that's really the goal. You always want to be able to find a way to produce better services at a lower cost. It's taken 8 years, but we have a confident report that we can proceed. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Well, Mr. President, like I said, it's, the concept, the idea, the whole idea of trying to cooperate between the two agencies is certainly a good one. There's something that needs to work in that direction. But again, I'd say there's a number of things that are left unanswered, and it would feel a lot more comfortable having these answers and documentation of it before we move forward into a full agreement. If this is good today, then it would probably still be good next month with more answers to more questions. So I'd like to move that we table this till we get more complete answers.
There's already a
I think
motion
there's a
on the
motion
floor.
on the floor.
A motion to table is in order if there's a second. And then you vote to either table or not, and if it's not tabled, then you'd vote on the existing motion.
I would second that. I mean, as I mentioned, I'm still trying to seek answers on this. Again, the study to me is incomplete. It's incomplete. And again, it doesn't account for a salary of a new director of public works. It doesn't account for other cost outlays on the township side. And so I want to get a better accounting of that. And
Motion to table is not.
Motion to table is in order, but not debatable.
Okay,
so we just have to vote it
You
up
just
or
vote
down.
either to table it or not.
Okay.
And
Mr.
if
President,
not tabled, you go
there's
back
a
to-
motion to table, there's a second to motion to table.
There is a motion to table and a second.
Second to
Now
table.
you would vote.
Okay, so all in favor of Mr. Schubert's motion? This is
Aye.
not a public session time, excuse me. Okay. Sorry, we're in the middle of voting here. Okay, so ayes,
Well,
I'm sorry, say it again.
Well, you
Mike?
sort of
sorry.
stopped us in the middle of voting.
Should we do a roll call?
okay, just so we're all clear. There was a motion on the floor to accept the study as Commissioner Napper outlined, okay? Commissioner Schubert made a
You made a motion to table it.
to table it, and it was seconded by Commissioner Fleming. So now we're voting on the table proposal by Commissioner Schubert.
Okay. Aye.
You want to do a roll call, Mr. Myers?
Yes, this is on the motion to table. Commissioner Rebarcheck,
Yes.
Commissioner Schubert,
Yes.
Commissioner, Vice President Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Pine,
No.
Commissioner Sanderson,
No.
Commissioner Angle,
No.
Commissioner Fleming,
Yes.
Commissioner Napper,
No.
President Lynch.
No.
You continue with the motion, which is on the
It's
floor.
5 votes, 4 votes yes, 5 votes no. The motion is now on the floor.
Call the question.
I had one other point of information.
Parliamentarian? In the interest of discussion,
I just, really quickly, would we have to vote on the agreement? Would the agreement have to come before, I mean, we're voting on the study now, correct, to
now,
adopt?
we're voting on the study and the authorization of the township and the authority to jointly negotiate and implement an agreement.
Wow.
Pending authority approval.
Well, who, Mr. President, represents the township?
Well, right now it's me.
Or
And
you're
so-
also on the authority board.
and Solicitor Foreman. That's true, I am.
But then there's no one there representing the township
I'm representing the township.
and the authority. So how do you negotiate with yourself?
Gratuitous
Pretty
remark.
well.
Damn it. I'm trying as best I can.
The authority would be represented by chairman.
Chairman Salamone.
And
Yep, and Solicitor Foreman.
Okay.
and
Okay,
Solicitor Cliff.
thank you. That'll inform my vote then. Thank you.
Okay.
Roll call, sir?
Yes, roll call, please, on the initial motion by
This
Mr.
is on a
Napper.
motion to approve. Commissioner Rebarcheck,
No.
Commissioner Schubert,
No.
Vice President Johnson,
No.
Commissioner Pine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Angle,
yes.
Commissioner Fleming,
No.
Commissioner Napper,
Yes.
President Lynch. Motion carries 5-4.
Thank you. Moving on to action on ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance 15-12, this is an ordinance for the placement of a stop sign on Batesville Road at Wedgewood Road for the eastbound traffic and the placement of a stop sign on Batesville Road at Cloverfield Road for westbound traffic. Mr. Myers?
It's per an approved traffic study. It's been duly advertised as authorized and before you for your consideration.
Motion to adopt.
Been moved to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And Resolution 15R12, this is authorizing the submission of a sewer module for Monarch Development in sunflower fields, not seeds. The
So
sewer
moved.
module. So moved?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Union Square Shopping Center, Mr. Rohr?
Good evening. In the Fifth Ward, a preliminary final land development plan for the purpose of constructing a 2,260-square-foot Chipotle restaurant in the existing parking lot area of the shopping center. Property is located in the Commercial Highway Zoning District. It was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission contingent on one waiver, and that was to waive the preliminary plan requirement.
So moved. Second.
Moved and second. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
The Planning Commission attached the following conditions. There are 4 listed. They have since cleaned up 2 of those. So what is remaining is number 1, provide financial security for all necessary improvements. And number 3 on your sheet, to provide the signed stormwater facilities maintenance agreement.
So moved. Second.
Moved and second. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Laurel Hill in the 9th Ward is a preliminary final subdivision land development plan for the purpose of constructing 56 single-family dwellings on the Hoke property, which is at the western end of Driftstone Drive. The property contains 24.22 acres located in the medium-density residential zoning district. The plan was recommended for denial by the Planning Commission based on numerous outstanding conditions.
Mr. President, the plan doesn't meet current township requirements. And as much as I think it's a great idea for a good development, I would have to ask the promotion to deny this since it doesn't meet our standards.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comment?
Mr. President, just adding and agreeing with the Commissioner, it's my understanding that the engineer sent 5 or 6 pages of recommendations, and there was no action on those. Am I right?
That's correct. There were about 70 to 75 comments that have not been addressed.
That were never addressed.
Correct.
So, well, I mean, as I agree with you, Commissioner, this may be a good project, but there's a lot of things that need to be attended to.
Right,
so.
right. That's a shame because it does seem like a nice, good project. If they would complete the work that's required, then we could, reconsider another time. But as presented now, I have to say, we have to say no. So we can only vote on what's being presented to us in the state that it's being presented to us, so.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Point of clarification. So the motion was to deny the plan, so a yes vote would be yes, deny the plan?
Yes, there
Okay.
will be no plan.
Just clarifying.
Okay. Any other discussion or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
There were 4 site reduction requests. The engineer reviewed all of them and recommended approval, the first being Mountaindale Phase 6. The request is from $1,086,365 down to $962,648.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Second is Apple Creek Phase 3, request from $61,638.42 down to $9,881.85.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next, Apple Creek Phase 4 from $237,892.82 down to $199,678.82.
So moved.
Second.
Second, any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Lastly, Giant Flex Space from $935 down to $0.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
That is all. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Rohr. Reports. Mr. Myers.
The unfinished business is in your packets. So it's being closed.
Public Safety Director Martin, did you have anything?
No, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Foreman?
Thank you. I have a couple of things. First of all, pursuant to law, I will advise the applicant for Laurel Hills of the denial as required by the Municipality Planning Code. Secondly, the Planning Commission has recommended an amendment to the parking requirements for certain commercial centers. And before the board can consider this, it must hold a public hearing. So if the board wishes to consider it, then I would suggest that the board may wish to schedule a public hearing. Typically, we would hold these prior to our meetings, our next meeting being December the 10th.
Okay, and who would present at this hearing?
The applicant, which would be the Susquehanna Marketplace. Their attorney, Mr. Klein, is here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so our next meeting, Mr. Myers, is December
10.
It'll be December 10th, sir.
Okay. How much time do you anticipate that we need for a meeting, for a hearing?
I believe, based upon the presentations made at the Planning Commission, that we might be able to have a meeting in 15 minutes.
Okay.
So I'd suggest we either meet at 7:15 or 7 o'clock.
Any thoughts from the board members?
Well, I think if it's well known that there's a hearing to reduce the parking at Susquehanna Marketplace, you may get more people than normally that show up for some of these things.
Okay, so we'll set it for 7, our first meeting in December.
I will
Thank you very much.
appropriately adjust the executive session.
Okay, thank you.
The next item that I have for the board is, as the board is aware, there is a appeal of a tax assessment in Susquehanna Township for the new Crooked Hill Associates development. The fair market value for this property is being contested by the applicant. The current fair market value is $12,196,400, and the applicant asserts that the fair market value should be only $8,800,000. The Dauphin County Tax Assessment Office is representing the 3 municipalities in attempting to maintain the current assessment, and is asking each municipality to join in paying their proportionate share of the expense of the appeal. The only expense that would be charged to the municipalities or the taxing bodies is the cost of an appraisal, and if it goes through a full court hearing, the cost of testimony of the same expert. The municipality, Susquehanna Township, only receives 11.3% of the real estate taxes on land in Susquehanna Township. In other words, 89% of the taxes don't go to Susquehanna Township. So therefore, our share would be 11.3%, or a maximum of $1,189. I would ask the board to approve that, our share of the expenses.
I move to accept the share of expenses in the amount not to exceed $1,200.
Second.
Move to second. Any comment?
Don't we need public comment on this since it's not on the agenda?
It's not on the
Offer.
agenda. Before we vote, we need to vote.
Does anybody wish to comment on this item on the agenda since it wasn't on the agenda? Good point, Commissioner. Okay, hearing none. It's moved to second. Any other comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Finally, tax delinquent properties that are exposed to first a tax sale, then a judicial sale, and that do not have bidders in either sale, are put on a repository list in Dauphin County, maintained by the Tax Claim Bureau, and individuals or entities can bid for those properties without going through an additional sale. When a bid is received, the taxing bodies are asked to either accept or reject the bid. The minimum bid is $500, and the most common bid for these properties is in fact $500. We have a bid for a property in Susquehanna Township, 26 Arrow Road, for the bid price of $500. It has been accepted by the school board, and it is the county's normal procedure to accept a bid if both the school district and the municipality do. So I'm asking if the municipality will consent to a $500 repository bid for this property. The township is very unlikely to receive any part of the $500 because of the costs of the tax claim bureau. But it will put it back on the tax roll.
Okay.
So if the board please,
So moved?
Second.
are you moving for, to put it back, or to accept the repository?
Yes.
And before we vote, we must solicit public comment.
Any public comment on this issue just raised by Mr. Foreman? Russ? Okay. Your way. Okay. So it's been moved and seconded. Any comment? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Emergency management. I'm sorry, school board. Mr. Fleming.
Yes, Mr. President, I just lost what was on my screen here. But I just, in terms of the school board, I just wanted to congratulate the new members who will be sworn in, the new elected members of the school board who will be sworn in on Wednesday, December 2nd. And those members are Shannon Belante, John Dietrich, Cole Goodman, Jessica Long, Sarah Pierce, and Mark Sussman. I look forward to working with them each, both individually and collectively, in their new capacity. And I'd certainly be remiss if I didn't thank Kathy Del Grande and Peter Sakel for their dedicated service on the school board as well. So, and I I'd also like to congratulate my fellow commissioners on reelection and the oddballs, I guess, 1, 3, 5, 7. No.
On the commissioner's odds.
Even
Called a
Steven.
lot worse than I.
And that was probably not too smart since I'm sandwiched between two of the bigger, larger members. So, congratulations. No.
They got
No.
nothing on you at all. Nothing on you. Big guy. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Authority, Mr. Sanderson?
Thank you, no report.
Indian Wheels, Commissioner Schubert.
No report.
All right. Shade Tree, Commissioner Barchak.
No report.
Communications. By the way,
No
no
report.
communications, congratulations, Bowman.
Oh, yeah.
And Human Relations Commission.
No report.
New business, we had advertised for a vacancy on the zoning hearing board. And at this point, we're not in a position to move a candidate that had expressed interest. Decided not to express interest any
Right,
further.
at the last
so-
minute. Right.
So search goes on. The good thing is the zoning hearing board for this month has been canceled due to lack of business. We would encourage anybody to apply if they feel like they have an interest in zoning issues to apply. And we have a couple of dozen other boards and commissions associated with the township, and we're always looking for qualified, dedicated people to volunteer their time in service to their fellow residents. So we encourage that. Commissioner comments, do we have any?
I have a lot, but I will refrain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Standing O. Anybody else? Nope. Okay. Approval of report of bills paid.
Mr. President, I move to accept the report of bills paid in the amount of $1,462,448.76.
That's a lot of money.
Is that a second?
It's hard work, Frank.
Moved and seconded. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Approve.
Second.
Yay.
We are out of here.
We're out of here.